Hey guys, James here, Fairclough Studios. Now, I've often wondered over the past couple of years, is it worth paying for the expensive ND filters, or should you just go for like the bog standard ones? And to be honest, I've done both, so I thought I'd share my experience in doing both with you. Now, what we normally use for filming is these Zomei filters. They're pretty cheap, they're only about £25 each. They're variable NDs, they go from ND 2 to 400, and you know, I don't have that many problems with them. The only problem is when you take them, like any variable ND, close to the maximum and you get this weird like black cross because of the way the polarization works. But yeah, they've been fairly solid. I've not managed to break one, and they're pretty slim. Yeah, I don't really have many complaints. There isn't any kind of noticeable colour cast from them, maybe very, very, very slightly green, but yeah, nothing that you can't kind of tweak in post, and nothing that you can usually kind of recognise anyway, so it's not really an issue for me. So the remaining thing was really kind of just to get the best build quality and the best operability that we could. Now, we've had filters in the past. The first ones we ever bought were like dead cheap. They were about £10–15, and they were really, really soft. They were absolutely awful. They had red casts. They just didn't work at most of the settings because of the cross situation. So yeah, we upgraded to these Zomei filters, but in the past year I've started using Marumi. Now, Marumi are a Japanese brand. I think they're made by Kenko, the lens maker. I've got two of them. I've got a 55mm, which is for my 35mm 1.8, and I've got a 67mm, which fits on the Sony 85mm 1.8, also fits on our 45mm tilt shift, and there's one more it fits on as well. But yeah, I'll show you this. So first of all, you get them in nice cases, so you don't have to like buy separate cases to put them in your bag, because I don't like filters rattling around loose in my bag because they just scratch. So nice robust cases. They're not just a retail box, you can actually use them. And the difference between like the Zomei filter and these is they are slightly thicker. I've never noticed any kind of vignetting at all because of the thickness of them, but because of the thickness you've actually got something to grab onto. There's nothing worse than getting two filters stuck together. Like you put an ND on top of a UV filter and then you get them stuck together, and you want to use a UV so you don't scratch your lens, but you don't want an ND on, and you end up just chucking the whole thing in your bag and it won't fit in the case anymore, and it's just absolutely stupid. So I do like having that bit of real estate on there to be able to grab hold of to unkey that. They're also a little bit bigger than the actual thread, whereas the Zomeis are like a couple of mil bigger than the actual thread size. These are a good kind of 10mm across, bigger, so that helps to eliminate the vignetting, and it also lets it protrude from the lens slightly, so you've got something to grab hold of. So when you've got a shot and you don't know whether you're kind of grabbing the front of the lens or something, you can actually get a good hold of them, and you can adjust your exposure just with a thumb. So I really like that, and also that they are kind of super smooth and the tolerances are great. It's not quite like a ball bearing kind of smoothness, but it's super smooth to turn them, and it also means because of the smoothness of the action, you can actually do fades with exposure. If you're on a tripod and you're moving kind of across a brightly lit scene to a dim one, you can kind of get the exposure up a bit. It's very tricky doing that, and I don't really recommend it, but it's possible to do that, and these make it a little bit easier. So yeah, overall the Marumi filters are absolutely great. Now at full retail price, these are 3–4 times the price of what I consider to be a pretty good variable ND filter. So what do you get for 4 times the price? Now, I would like to say, because you're spending 4 times the price, it's definitely kind of less interference in terms of sharpness in front of the lens, that you can use it right up to the 400 range, that you can use it kind of all the time, no problem whatsoever, no colour casts or anything. But that's not true at all. You still get a very slight kind of image degradation, you still get a very slight colour cast. It is a lot more neutral. It's probably the most neutral ND filter I've ever used. And in terms of sharpness loss, it's only the same as using a high quality UV filter. Like, I'd rather take that kind of 0.0001% hit and know it's protected, and likewise I'd rather take that hit and know that I've got exposure control if I have to run from inside to outside to get a shot at a wedding and all my controls are kind of set. So yeah, to be honest, are they worth spending a lot more money on? I don't know. I've not managed to break a Zomei filter yet. I've not managed to break one of these. So far they are just really robust. I have a lot of confidence in these filters and they are the first ones that I use. I would definitely use kind of a Marumi over a Zomei just because of the price difference. I think I have a little bit more confidence in the product, but yeah, there's certainly nothing wrong with the alternatives, and unless you're kind of spending very little money, I don't think there's going to be huge differences. And same again, unless you're buying like the Polar Pro Peter McKinnon filters, I don't think there's going to be a massive difference between this and that. I do think we're getting into the minutiae of kind of ND filter quality when you get up to a certain price point. I certainly wouldn't be comfortable paying more than kind of £80 for a filter, especially since, you know, if you crack it against a wall and smash it on a job, then you're suddenly £80 less in profit for that job. So that's also a consideration for me. With weddings, they're often unpredictable, and it's not like we're shooting in a really controlled environment like on a film set. So yeah, that's a consideration for me, but overall I'm really happy with them. I'm really happy with the build quality. They feel great in the hand, and I would trust them a little more than any other brand, but it's completely up to you to see if it's actually worth kind of spending the money. Now, any of the videos that we put up are either shot on the Marumi or the Zomei filters. I rarely shoot video unless it's really low light without an ND filter. So in reviewing the footage, I can't really see much difference. When I'm grading, I don't say, oh, that was shot on that filter, so I have to kind of magenta it up, or that was shot on the Marumi filter, so I have to green it up a bit. It doesn't kind of make any difference on the scopes, so I'm going to say they're both as neutral as each other. So yeah, would I recommend the Marumi filters? Absolutely. I think they're great. They feel like they'll last years and years of use. Would I recommend the Zomei filters? Yeah, absolutely. They're a lot cheaper. I have no problem like leaving that on my lens and throwing it in my bag, kind of rubbing it with a t-shirt while I'm on set rather than getting my microfiber cloth out, because I know it's 20 quid. If it lasts me 2 years and I have to replace it, then that's no problem. For the same thing, that'd have to last 8 years, so yeah, I take a bit more care of the Marumis than I do the Zomeis, but that's about it. So yeah, if you're considering buying ND filters for your SLR or mirrorless lenses, then yeah, I definitely recommend the Marumi filters. But if you can't stretch to it, the Zomei filters are absolutely great. I haven't had a problem with them at all. We've got 277s, 267s, 349mm, and a couple of others as well. They've been a lot more reliable and better build quality than like the Neewer ones, than the kind of what were they called, Pig Iron or something like that, this fake knockoff brand on eBay. So I wouldn't recommend going with anything less. But yeah, if you're in the market for quality ND filters to up your video production quality, I'd recommend either of these sets of filters. They're absolutely great. We went with both. I certainly won't be getting rid of the Zomeis to replace them with Marumis anytime soon, but time will tell. Maybe in 2 years I'll come back and say, oh, they fell apart far faster than the Marumis. But so far so good. 2 years of shooting on the Zomei, 1 year of shooting on the Marumi, and both held up really well to our shooting conditions, and couldn't recommend them more. So yeah, been a quick one today. I've got loads more videos coming up. I've got some reviews, I've got some series, I've got some how-tos. So I really appreciate it when you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to turn on my notifications, and I'll see you next time. Thanks guys.